morning all, and welcome to the Limey Canadian channel. First video of 2026, so Happy New Year. So this morning's video is going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do is go on a bus route that's connected to the Beatles. So about a month or so back, I got a bit nostalgic to where I used to live in Wavertree, and thought, oh, do you know what, I'll get the 86 just for nostalgia. It's the bus route that I used to take home. And then I knew Paul McCartney met George Harrison on the bus, so I googled it, and it turns out it was the 86. And then I realised there's a lot of Beatles connected sites along that route. So today, that's where I'm going to be taking you. I'm going to be taking you from Liverpool John Lennon Airport right the way back through to town. Going to end at Paul and George's school. Okay, so we're going to get the bus down there and then head off. So I'll catch you at the airport. Hello again. So after an hour, I finally got to John Lennon Airport. During World War II, the airport was RAF speak. And on the day before John Lennon was born, the fastest recorded kill by the RAF took place. Flight Lieutenant Gillam shot down a Junkers Ju-88 of the Luftwaffe. It was that quick, he was still taking off. The undercarriage of the landing gear of his Hawk Hurricane was still retracting. So that's it for the World War II history, and we'll move on to the Beatles history. Right, so if you come out the airport, turn right and head south on Hale Road. Walk down for about 5-10 minutes, and on the left you'll come to Carley Walk. Turn left onto that and go straight up, and you'll finally get to Upton Green on the left. I think the route the 86 done, especially going back into town's probably changed a little bit, because when Paul tells the stories of meeting George, he said that George would get on the bus and then the next stop he would. That'd indicate that the bus was going south and then coming back up through Speak a different way, because if you continue walking this way, you've got George's house at Upton Green, followed by Paul's house on Ardwick Road. Okay, so we're here on Carley Walk, just turn left off Hale Drive, not road, as I said earlier. Continue straight forward over Little Heath Road, and then we finally get to, well, up Little Heath Road, and then we finally get to Upton Green. And here we are, Upton Green. It was, as we're recording this on the 3rd of Jan, it was 76 years ago yesterday that the Harrisons moved from their 2 up, 2 down in 12 Arnold Grove, Wavertree, to this bigger council house in Speak at 25 Upton Green. The house was where the Quarrymen used to rehearse. In fact, in 1958, they'd done a gig here for George's brother's wedding reception, and there it is. Last time I was here, there was a van in the way, so I couldn't really get a decent photo or anything. So here we go. It's now like an Airbnb thing, so you can actually stay there, get your photo taken like George did in the road here. I mean, Upton Green, it's quite small. It looks really big on the camera, but it's quite small once you're here. And we'll just get some videos of the plaques that's here. Right, so if you come back the way you came from Upton Green, turn left onto Central Way and walk down till you get here on Old Bridge Road. Turn left, you walk down for a little bit, turn right and then left again, and you get to Ardwick Road, which was Paul's house. I've just been speaking to a gentleman who lived a couple of doors down from George's house, who was actually telling me the route. So the 86 used to, as I said earlier, it went south before coming back into town. But it was also telling me that one Christmas, you look out the window, a limo pulled up, and there was Paul McCartney and Heather Mills getting out, and Paul was showing Heather, you know, this was like the Quarrymen's rehearsal space in George's house, well, yeah, which was quite a nice thing to see. He said, you know, the big Range Rover with his bodyguards and stuff after it. Okay, so we turn here onto Withington, walk on a little bit more, and then we turn left just ahead onto Ardwick Road, which was Paul's house until they moved to 24 Flynn Road in 1955. So obviously you do have a bit of the sniffles. And here we go, number 12. Childhood home, or one of them, of Paul McCartney. This was the last house they were in before they moved to Forthland Road. Paul's mum was a midwife, so they basically lived all over the place, even on my side of the Mersey in Wallasey and Broadway. So yeah, that's Paul's old house. Okay, so you continue down Central Avenue instead of going to the airport. You get to this end, which is Western Avenue, and just over there is number 72, where Paul lived with his family until they moved to Ardwick Road. So catch up there. So that's 72 Western Avenue, former childhood home of Paul McCartney. So we're going to walk right back down Western Avenue, and then we'll basically get to the airport at the end of the road, so I will see you there. Right, so I'm back at the airport, I'm back waiting for an 86A. Okay, so we're going for the 86 at Liverpool South Parkway, the rail and bus terminus. Walk down this way, and we'll get to Walton Road, just past that bridge. If you turn right, you're on Walton Road. If you turn left, you're on Mather Avenue, which we'll be coming to later. So on the right, we'll be following Walton Road round till we get to Allerton Cemetery, which is our next Beatles stop. Okay, so here we are at Allerton Cemetery, where on the 21st of July 1958, John's mother Julia was buried. We're going to see two more graves that are connected to the Beatles of local celebrities from the time. But basically what we're going to do now is we enter the cemetery. We're going to continue on this main path right the way to the end, and that's where Julia is buried. As you can see, we're right at the far end of Allerton Cemetery. It's absolutely huge, one of Liverpool's many cemeteries. We're going to go now go to Julia's grave. I'm not going to put the grave location on this video because, to be honest, there's a wealth of resources, so I'm just showing you where things are. And late Julia Lennon, who was killed on the 15th of July 1958 on Menlove Avenue. John's mum, who had an immeasurable effect on John's life. Rest in peace, Julia. Almost directly opposite from Julia is her partner, John Bobby Dykins, who John known as Twitchy. Walking back from Julia's grave to the Walton Road entrance, you see those trees there about halfway. Just before then, on the right hand side, is the grave of Liverpool legend Sir Kenneth Arthur Dodd of Knotty Ash. Ken was an entertainer, comedian, singer, local legend. Ken lived all his life in the same house in Knotty Ash, just around the corner from where my family used to live in Dovecot. He was famous for his extremely long shows that would go on well past the curfew. Rest in peace, Doddy. Also buried here is Cilla Black, one of Brian Epstein's stable of stars. Cilla was a great singer in the 1960s. The Beatles wrote songs for her. For those of you who, like me, grew up in the 80s and 90s, you'll remember Cilla mostly from Surprise Surprise and Blind Date. Cilla was from the Scotland Road area of Liverpool. Local girl done well. Rest in peace, Cilla. After leaving Spangler Cemetery, turn left and continue back onto Walton Road, turn right onto Mabra Avenue, and then left onto Walton Road, where you find Blomfield Road, where Julia lived. Walk down Ramsey Road, turn left onto Blomfield Road, and number 1, you'll find Julia Lennon's house. About a mile or so from Menlove Avenue, where John was living. He didn't know his mum lived there. When he first got into rock and roll, it was Julie that taught him the banjo at this house. John used to stay here against Mimi's wishes, and this was the house Julie was living when she was unfortunately killed on Menlove Avenue. Hop on the 86 again for a couple of stops, and then you get off at Apple Stop and you're here, Forthland Road. It was here where in 1955 Paul's family finally moved and finally settled down. And unfortunately, it's also hit you where Mary had passed away, or it happened when they were living here. And Paul also wrote a lot of his early Beatles stuff. He also wrote When I'm 64 at number 20 here. Paul was the last Beatle to leave Liverpool, and his dad didn't leave this house until 1964 when Paul bought him a big house in Heswell, which is really, really nice in that area. But yeah, this house has now been bought by the National Trust, and you can have guided tours of this house if you so wish. So here we are, number 20 Forthland Road. Okay, turn left at the end of Forthland Road back onto Mabra Avenue and walk up towards town, and you'll come to Booker Avenue. Paul McCartney told a great story about how bad John's eyesight was when John used to walk home this way, and he came home the next day, I think it must have been around Christmas, and he said, "Hey, they're all mad round yours." And Paul's like, "Why?" He says, "That house on the corner of Booker Avenue, they were playing cards at night. So Paul went and investigated, and it turns out there was a nativity scene in this garden. Off the 86 again, and we're in the area that's known as Penny Lane. There's a lot of Beatles connections here. This Tesco was, according to some reports, where Cynthia, her waters broke before she gave birth to Julian. So the Penny Lane bus terminal It's this shelter in the middle of the roundabout that used to be Sergeant Pepper's Cafe. Closed in about 2003. I went there once back in 2002. It used to be really nice. No one's took over it since. Walking up Church Road on the right hand side from Penny Lane roundabout, you'll come to this street, Castle Road. It was here where John Lennon first lived and was brought home to after he was born. His parents, Alfred and Julia Lennon, came here. It's their house at number 9. John lived here until he was 5, after the incident in Blackpool where he was forced to choose between his mum and his dad. He picked his dad, came running back to his mum, and from then on, Aunt Mimi was his guardian, and he moved from here when he was 5. Okay, so if you walk back down Church Road, you'll end up on Penny Lane itself, which has got a lot more Beatles sites. For example, St Barnabas Church there. Paul McCartney was a choir boy when he was younger. When we walk down Penny Lane itself, right towards the bottom of Penny Lane is Dovedale Primary School, where John and George first went as infants. I did not know this was here on Penny Lane. It's been a long time since I've been down Penny Lane. So across Penny Lane you've got Dovedale Road. This is Dovedale Road Primary School, where John Lennon and George Harrison first went to infant school. Who knows, their paths could have crossed in that very playground as youngsters, not knowing what was going to happen in the future. Okay, so if you get off the 86 by the Subway restaurant on Smithdown Road and Wavertree, come back on yourself a little bit, and on the left hand side, running parallel to the railway embankment and railway bridge, is Garmoyle Road. It was here at number 93 that Cynthia Lennon and Paul's girlfriend Dot, later fiance, shared a flat on the first floor. It's also where Paul broke off the engagement to Dot, but Paul and John would, come around and visit here frequently. Right, so if you get back onto the 86 on Smithdown Road by the Subway restaurant, stay on a few stops and get off by the Asda, you'll come to here around the back in the car park, and it's Smithdown Health Park. This used to be Sefton General Hospital. Now, it was here on the 15th of July 1958 where John's mum was brought to and officially pronounced dead. It was also here that on the 8th of April 1963 John's son Julian Lennon was born, named after Julia. Very bittersweet place for John. Get off the 86 at that bus stop opposite the Women's. If you walk down here on Musgrave Street, you'll finally come to Rosebery Street in Toxteth. Okay, so this is Rosebery Street in Toxteth. This is our second to last stop. Toxteth's known for a lot of reasons, not all positive. Unfortunately, there was the riots here in the 80s. But there is a lot of diversity here, which is always good. Okay, so one thing Toxteth's not known for is that on the 22nd of June 1957, the Quarrymen played their first ever gigs, and it was on, if you bear with me, it was in the road there. So there are quite famous photos from that day where they're on the back of a trailer. You also see someone who looks like Paul McCartney. I'll click a link to a brilliant video that's about that. See what you think. But yeah, this is the site of the Quarrymen's first ever gig. And finally we're here. I left the airport at 10:15 this morning. It's now 3:10 and I'm finally approaching Paul and George's school. So I hope you've enjoyed all the sites that are on the 86, the Beatles ones. There's going to be more that I've missed out. There's a lot more in town now. If you look at my backbeat film and location videos, you'll see them. But finally, I was going to go up the steps and finish it there, but up the slope, sorry, and finish it there, but no. I think I'll just leave it at this. If you liked the video, then give a thumbs up and subscribe. But yeah, thanks for staying this long.